It's 1:38 a.m. Time for Octoberpod. Good morning. This is your faithful horror host, Edward October. I'm gratified that you've joined us here at the end of an era in the horror and paranormal podcasting community. I'm referring, of course, to the permanent hiatus of the Haunted Ride podcast. You can still find it on many of your favorite apps. I suggest you seek it out so that you can enjoy a paranormal podcast like none other. A paranormal podcast with heart. And that heart belonged to tonight's guest narrator, Melissa Cummins. Join us in wishing her well on all of her future excursions into the unknown. This morning's Octoberpod was written by friend of the show and acclaimed high priestess of LATINX letters, Miss V Castro. But before we begin, I want to remind you that unquiet spirits abound. Appease them all now by hitting the like button. Better still, hit the subscribe button. And while you're at it, ring the bell. We bold individualists need to stick together in these dark and uncertain times.
Everyone that lives around here has a different story about who she is or was. The story I heard, and the version that frightens me the most, is that she is the product of a Santeria ritual gone wrong. The house where it was supposed to have happened is a burnt ruin, nestled amongst the trees and bushes that have been left to grow wild. This notoriously haunted spot is just beyond the bridge. There's a permanent faded for sale sign half tipped over, stuck deep into the ground. People like to call it Donkey Lady Bridge. Kids dare each other to run across the bridge while making donkey sounds, but nothing ever happened to them. By the corner of the bridge, you can see remnants of black wax and chalk marks where wannabe Satanists go to perform seances. Then there are others minding their own business that swear there is a malevolent presence. A real estate agent charged with auctioning the land changed offices so that she would never have to venture into this part of town again. It was always the ones that weren't looking for her that got her attention. I didn't believe any of it. I drove across the bridge so many times without so much as a glare across my windshield. What I wouldn't give to take back that night 3 weeks ago, when I decided to walk across that bridge. Now I wear a cross around my neck. I've read every book in the library about Santeria, even trying to convince a practitioner to tell me its secrets. However, I was met with suspicion and a slammed door on my face. I decided to keep this audio diary to keep track of my investigation. I also want there to be some record of what I'm doing in case anything should happen to me. Here goes. The girls and I were out for drinks. It was one of those nights where we all just wanted to have a good bitch fest about work, men, the never-ending exhaustion of adulting and misbehaving kids. Tonight we were going to drink our fun until double vision took over and at least one of us would text an ex followed by tearful regret. I knew all of this, yet I still drove to the bar directly after work, even though it wasn't that far from my condo. Sometimes that Friday feeling is the only thing to propel you forward when the rest of the week is nothing short of a shit show. We got hammered on pitchers of margaritas. When Adian ordered a round of tequila shots, I could feel my stomach churn from the smell. I needed food, greasy, stodgy intestine rotting processed junk. That unsteady, mind-spinning feeling of being slowly drowned in murky water began to take over. In my drunken state, I walked out of the bar and into the freshness of the night. The warmth of a Texas summer evening enveloped my body, and I wanted to go home. Of course, I couldn't drive in my state of inebriation. My car was safe enough overnight, and by this time my PJs and the thought of Uber Eats delivery called to me a lot louder than the tone-deaf karaoke going on inside. I began to walk home. I hardly noticed I was across the bridge when I heard a rustle in the brush. Instinctively, I took out my phone while pretending to talk loudly to someone, still continuing on my way. In the other hand, I fumbled for my small bottle of pepper spray inside my bag. Nothing is more sobering than fear. The rustling persisted. Maybe this was just some weirdo wanting to jerk off in front of me, or a bunch of kids playing a prank. Nice try, assholes. My fear was turning to annoyance. Then I heard it. It was a hoarse, strangled cry of despair, pain, and pure hate. It was a sound that felt like the thorax of hell decided to open and bestow upon humanity its horrible hymn. I turned my head towards the trees and flipped on my phone's flashlight app to direct it to whatever was making that noise while moving closer to the sound. I've always hated people in horror films that felt the need to investigate instead of run. Now, I was one of those idiots. At first I didn't know what I was seeing. The silhouette was roughly the size of a large dog, sitting upright. The face was indiscernible, as matted hair clung from the scalp, clotted with what looked like mud and blood. Its hands and feet resembled hooves, as its fingers and toes appeared split in the middle, fused 3 by 2 by melted skin. As it lifted its head, I could see 2 breasts hanging, low masses of stretched, misshapen dough. It was a woman. I started trying to understand what was before my eyes. She stared right back at me. My mouth opened to scream, but no sound escaped. I turned to run. Behind me I could hear twigs and fallen leaves underfoot of the woman in the trees. However, it wasn't the sound of 2 feet. She was practically galloping. Pain seared behind my knees as she drove her head into my legs. I was now eating dirt, flat against my stomach. Miraculously, my hand still clutched my phone. There was no one to call, but perhaps I could try to fling it at her face? Before I could make any such movement, a curtain of black, tangled hair appeared in my peripheral vision. Slowly, I turned my head to see what I might be up against. She opened a large, inhuman mouth to let out another hoarse, guttural cry, like a donkey. I tried to still my quivering body as she brought her elongated countenance next to mine. The bones in her face looked like they had been broken multiple times and set back improperly. Her nose, wet with snot, sniffed around my face. Streaks of saliva dripped from open lips, revealing teeth that resembled a forgotten cemetery. They were a cluttered collection on top of each other, chipped away with rot. A fog of stinking breath puffed against my forehead. I could feel the tequila and bar nuts scrambling from the pit of my stomach to my throat. My bladder tightened as if a garrote had been placed inside of me. I couldn't look into her eyes. Those eyes would surely bore into my memory, and I would never forget this sight if I escaped. Instead, I stared at the mottled keloid skin that made up her front hooves, where hands should be. Neglected nails were thick, yellowed, jagged shards. One kick would tear right through me. My eyes traveled further up without any control, like invisible marionette strings pulled at my pupils. Something wanted me to look into her eyes. Across her chest, a thick red welt cast an angry red mark of what could only have been a chain or crucifix. The burn so deep I could imagine the gold melted directly into her skin and the bones of her clavicle. I felt dizzy with fear, thinking this would be the end of me as my eyes were still moving to meet hers. They were black, vast, empty wells of pain and sorrow with no end. Tears streamed from the corners. Then she screeched again with an evil, laughing donkey call. This gave me just the amount of time to get a good swipe with my large Samsung phone across her head. I scrambled to my feet, losing a shoe in the process, and ran as fast as I could. I couldn't hear anything besides the blood pumping between my ears. It wasn't until I got home that I realized the bottom of my left foot was torn to ribbons from running barefoot. A single bloody footprint trailed through the house into the bathroom. As I looked into the bathroom mirror, there she was staring back at me, that misshapen, elongated face and wet nose. Her black eyes becoming wider as she opened her mouth to scream her lonely donkey cry. I went to call out for my husband, but all that escaped was a hoarse and human call. I couldn't form the words from my mouth, only a name echoing in my mind. Diana. I emerged from this weird vision to my husband Miguel shaking me by my arms. I melted into his body and began to sob. Miguel automatically assumed the worst by the look of me, but when I finally told him the story, I could tell he was trying to stifle laughter. Look, you just had too much to drink with the girls. Have you told them you were alright? I shook my head. Yeah, I had a few missed texts, but by the look of their Instagram stories, they didn't miss me much. Miguel continued to clean my foot as I sat on the toilet. My ravenous appetite disappeared. I didn't want to close my eyes in case she would appear again. So I sat in bed, searching for any information I could on the property just beyond the bridge. I also began reading about Santeria practices. Before going to bed, I discovered I must have dropped my bag when I fell. No way did I want to go through the hassle of calling my bank and credit cards, donkey lady or no donkey lady. I'm pretty sure it would be there. I also needed to know she was really there. After lunch, my husband and I went to the bridge. I brought flowers, bought of candles, sprinkled with blood from my wounded foot, and fruit to leave at the spot where she left me. I knew she had to be real. It was curious she didn't follow me, and when I thought about it, she didn't really want to hurt me when she could have. There was something there that didn't feel right. Miguel was trying to be nice, but still managed to roll his eyes when he saw my little offering in hand. We walked the area trying to figure out where I had been the previous night. I found my fallen ballet flat. I hoped to find anything else that might prove to my husband she was real, and I wasn't just a hot mess caught in my own booze-filled nightmare. No trace of anything, except the marks on my body that could be explained as self-inflicted from the fall. Without realizing where I was going, I found myself in the line of trees where I first saw her. I continued through the trees, hoping to come across evidence of her existence. There it was. The burned residence that people claimed was that of the donkey lady, Diana. The name played over and over like a stalled tape recorder. I whispered her name as I laid down my offering. In the distance I could hear my husband shouting he found my bag. He would want to leave soon. I did a quick scan of what was left of the property. Not so much as a pile of dung or food wrappers. Did I really think a woman was living in these woods for years without going undetected? Did I really believe in another spirit world? I returned to our car unafraid, with a determination to find some answers. July 10th. She won't leave my mind. Since the day I've been going back to the property to leave offerings after work. Whenever I return on my way to work, the following day, it's gone. My husband says it's a homeless person or animals taking my offering, but I don't think so. I also left clothes. They were gone too, except in their place I found an old VHS tape, partly covered in a dried white substance. This is the first clue that might lead anywhere, because I found no news stories or shred of evidence to tell me what might have happened here. The real estate agent who was meant to auction the property has refused to speak with me about the details of ownership. The new realtor says the exact same thing, as the property belongs to the bank. I have to find a VHS player as soon as possible, because some things are not meant to be mysteries. July 12th. I found a VHS player, but it seems the video is damaged. Why would it appear if I wasn't supposed to see what was on it? So, I did a little research and found a guide to try to restore the tape. We will meet tomorrow at lunch. Fingers crossed. Prayers to the Santa Muerte, and anything else that wants to pitch in and lend a hand. July 13th. I'm scared to watch the video. The guy who repaired the VHS said if I don't go to the police, he will. He also told me to never reach out to him again, should I find any other media. Wish me luck, as I need to watch this before Miguel comes home. My God. I feel my very soul has been sucked from every vein in my body. I have never seen anything as horrific as what was on this VHS tape. There was a woman and a crowd of people, if you can call them people. What she endured, I can't. And that thing, I can't even begin to describe it, or how I can go on with my faith. Maybe I need more faith to understand what I just saw? Can I trust my eyes? I've made a copy of the DVD and sent it to the police anonymously, along with the VHS tape. Maybe their forensics can do something. Tomorrow is my birthday. Everyone is making a big deal about it except me. All I can think about is this woman on the tape. May Miguel and my family forgive me. I'm going to the bridge tomorrow.
On the next Octoberpod, the Black Church Cult. You have been streaming Octoberpod. Octoberpod was produced, edited, and directed by Edward October. Logo and banner graphics by Jessica Good. Edward October illustrations based upon an original character design by Nic Calavera. Select music and effects cues courtesy of freesound.org. The man who spoke to you was Mr. Edward October.